Good afternoon, Flint Rotary. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Flint. It is Friday, September the 23rd, 2022. And so with that, happy fall. The weather certainly got the memo right on cue. So with that, I also want to acknowledge that we have an important holiday in the Jewish tradition that's coming up at sundown this Sunday. It's going to mark Rosh Hashanah, which for those of you who might not be aware, it's actually the birthday of the universe. So kind of a Jewish version of celebrating the new year. It's often celebrated with the tradition of dipping fruit in honey as a way of beckoning forth a sweet year ahead. This is also, as you may recall from last time, that we are now in the second week of Latinx Heritage Month. And with that, just wanted to provide kind of a timely spotlight on one of the Latin American parts of our hemisphere. That this is a few scenes from Puerto Rico, which you are probably aware has endured a rather devastating hurricane in the past week. That currently about 500,000 people there are without clean drinking water. And certainly, as you know, that clean drinking water is one of Rotary's priorities. So something just to be aware of there. Puerto Rico has actually been a territory of the U.S. since the Spanish-American War. That does mean that people in Puerto Rico are U.S. citizens, although they don't have a vote for either Congress or the president. And something that I learned in just trying to understand the history a little bit better is that at the time Puerto Rico came under U.S. control, a lot of other territories in the westward expansion were given statehood. Puerto Rico was kind of the outliers; they were not. So, anyhow, as we continue to look ahead, today happens to be National Checkers Day. So you have time this afternoon yet to get a game on. And also Love Note Day. So maybe a good idea to jot a little love note to your someone special. We'll also have a chance to celebrate some Rotarian birthdays today. And we'll be hearing from Jason Carlisle, who is the assistant principal of the Genesee Career Institute. So with that, let's proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation. And the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? All from goodwill, beneficial to all. Then I'd like to invite up Dominique Clemens, who's going to give our inspirational message.
Go ahead and sit.
Yeah, it's my boy. So in trying to think of what I wanted to do for an inspirational message this week, I looked back and looked through some historic speeches. We've had a lot of great ones throughout our world's history. Thought maybe a fable would do, looked at some poetry, and then it hit me that what I wanted to share this week in light of everything that's happening in our world was some words by one of what I would say is my favorite modern day philosopher, someone that was born and raised right here in the state of Michigan. And some of you may recognize this passage, and some of you may not. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, one moment, would you capture it or let it slip? Imagine, your palms are sweaty, your knees are weak, your arms are heavy, you're nervous. But on the surface, you have to look calm and ready. But you keep on forgetting what you wrote down. The whole crowd's going so loud. You open your mouth, but the words just won't come out. You're choking. How? Everybody's joking at you now. The clock's run up. Time's up. Over. You've got to snap back to reality. Time to get grounded in gravity. You're so mad, but you won't give up that easy. No, you won't have it. You know you're back to the rope, but it doesn't matter. You've got to keep hoping. You know that, but you're broken. You're so stagnant. You know when you go back home, it's when it's back to the drawing board again. You better go capture this moment and hope it doesn't pass you. All the pain inside is amplified by the fact that these times are so hard and it's getting even harder. It's just too much for you to want to stay in one spot. Another day of monotony has gotten you to a point where you're like a snail. You've got to formulate a plot and shoot your shot. Success is your only option. Failure is certainly not. So here you go, it's your shot. This may be the only opportunity that you've got. So lose yourself in the moment and just never let it go. We've all got one shot, so don't miss your chance to go. Your opportunity may come but once in a lifetime. Thank you.
All right, cheers to taking our shot. With that, thank you so much, Don, for that message. And Carrie, guests, please feel free to enjoy your lunch. If you haven't yet had a piece of help us up to the buffet, please go ahead and we'll reconvene shortly. Welcome back, Rotarians. Hope you enjoyed your lunch and some conversation. We're going to go ahead and get started with our business portion of the meeting. And with that, I wanted to share just first of all a couple of announcements. I wanted to take this opportunity now that we are almost 1/4 of the way through the Rotary year, to believe that. It's kind of flying past. And so I wanted to take a moment to share with all of you a little snapshot. These are some of the goals that have been entered for our club into Rotary International. So every single Rotary club around the world is expected to identify a set of goals for every single year and then to report back on the progress. So we may have some additional goals that are internal to our club based on specific things that we're working on, but these are things that are kind of common goals across Rotary. And so each club is asked to choose at least 13 of them. And if you meet 13 goals, that's what then makes you eligible for that Rotary citation, which, as we shared last week, the club did receive for President Kyle of the Year. So this just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of where we're at today. So right now we have 96 members in our club. We have a goal of getting back up to 100. And so that means that we have a little bit of additional work to do, but we've made some headway already. In terms of service participation, we had a goal of having at least 25 Rotarians participate in a service project this year. So far, we've had 9 folks from our club that were part of the Prim Rotary Mile. So thank you again for everybody who was part of that. And you'll be hearing more about service opportunities and in fact having a chance to weigh in and help create some of those service opportunities in the coming weeks. So that's one area where I think it's totally achievable that we have enough people with enough kind of caring hearts and willing to give their time that we hopefully will be able to easily meet and exceed that goal. New member sponsorship, that gets into line with, we want to increase our number of members, we have to sponsor them. So I know we've got one person who's completed that process so far this year. We've got a few more in the pipeline. And definitely this is an opportunity that if you are inviting folks to Rotary and they're enjoying it and finding value in it, then certainly it might be time to have that conversation about whether they might like to participate as a member. And then the last on this slide is leadership development participation. So this would be something like the Rotary Leadership Institute. This is a training program. They used to all be in person. Now many of them are online. And it's usually, it's online. It's usually done maybe over 2 or 3 evenings or sometimes on a Saturday for a couple hours at a time. And it gives you some foundational leadership goals. If you are, or tools rather. So if you are somebody who's maybe thinking about wanting to take on a leadership role for a committee, or maybe you're thinking about board service. So these might be some of the areas that you might want to consider a Rotary Leadership Institute training. We're working on trying to get you some information about upcoming dates. they're a sequential sort of thing. So you have to take part 1 before you can take part 2. So we have lots of dates coming up for parts 2 and 3, but for anybody who's interested in part 1, we're going to try to pin that down and share that information. Some of the other goals, district conference attendance. So that's one that we'll get more information about when our district. Everybody's going to be in Flint, so like we should have a whole lot of attendance for that. And our district governor is like sitting right there. So well, I'm sure show up and make him proud. Annual fund contributions. So we have a little more than halfway towards that goal. And then polio plus contributions, we've already met that. So as we get additional pledge cards returned, if you haven't done yours yet, then we'll continue to see those numbers change. I mentioned service projects, so we've completed 1. We'll have a few more. We do have a Rotary Club, which has, I think, been a little less active since COVID, but I know Dawn and some others have been working towards trying to reconstitute that, provide some support. Rotary is kind of the college, young adult age version of Rotary, and so that's a really cool pipeline to try to cultivate the next generation of Rotarians. So that's something that is part of our goals about. Strategic plan, we have one. We're going to have a little team committee huddle on Monday. We'll spend some time reviewing that and seeing where we're at with it. So you can expect a further report out to the club about where we are with our strategic plan goals to date in the coming month or so. And then online presence. So I'm not going to go through each single one of these, but certainly getting the word out about Rotary through use of updated social media and websites. I know that there's been some additions to the website since the last time we touched on this. So if you haven't seen our strategic plan, you can now go to our website, and it's located right there under, I think, the member tab, so that you can get that information and take a closer look at it. And any questions on that before I zip ahead? Yeah, Marie.
Members, what's our average attendance that are finding between Zoom and Zoom?
So I'd say for the last few months, we've been averaging about 25 to 30 in person and maybe 4 or 5 on Zoom. So that means and I know I've reached out to some folks that haven't been here in a while. Some of them have said, we're still in kind of COVID service mode at work and I just can't make it. Or, others have had things that have taken them away and have appreciated the call. But the more that we can be reaching out to Rotarians to check in with them, see how they're doing, to let them know we're thinking about them, that we would love to have them back. And if there's any way that we can be of support, and I think just helping to intentionally maintain that connection with folks really does make a difference. And that fellowship is one of the main benefits of Rotary. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts around this? All right. Well, then I'll share that your straw poll from last week was most informative. We'd asked people about their preference that our traditional Friday meeting date on October 21st is not available here. They have another event that they need to use this room for at that time. And so we asked your opinion about whether you prefer to do it here, but a day earlier on a Thursday, or find a different location for our traditional Friday. So please do mark your calendars that instead of meeting on the 21st of October, we are going to be meeting here a day earlier. So it'll be our first Thursday meeting. And this will give us a chance to try that out and see what folks think. I know that since COVID, we've experienced, at least for some workplaces, that they're going remote on Fridays. And so maybe this is a chance for some folks that have found it hard to come in person on Friday to join us for a Thursday. But that question about what format or timing works for folks, that's something that you can expect that we may do like a survey on or try to get some input around, just to kind of do a check-in with folks and see, is every Friday at noon still what works best for you? Some other clubs are switching to some more creative kind of formats, or maybe alternating a week with a formal meeting and a week with a happy hour or kind of informal get together. So we just want to, rather than assume what works best for everybody, have a chance to ask about that and get some input for you. So you can expect that in the next month, you might get a survey about that and be asked to respond. All right, I want to invite up now President-elect Anne Marie to just give us a little informational preview here.
Thank you, President Elizabeth. Someone can time me. This is fine worthy. $1 per minute is what I can afford here. So I already put this little flyer on everybody's table, so I'm not going to read what's on it, but I wanted to just a minute to highlight that this is really the culmination. A lot of you may have seen the family new brand launch that started August 31st. There's a new visible identity around town. It marks what to us is a very significant milestone in the organization's history. 50 years ago, the Flint Institute of Music was formed for the merger of two arts organizations. 50 years later, it's expanded considerably as we took on the management operation of Whiting Auditorium and Capitol Theater last July. So if you go to the fim.org, you see a new look. If you go into our venues, you'll see a new look. But what I think is significant about this is that we really are looking through the brand promise that the statement that you will see, I hope a lot, is we believe in the transformative power of the arts, and we believe it's for all of Flint. I don't think that's necessarily a shocking statement, but we think it's still a bold statement because in our 100-year history, I don't think we can say that it's always been for all of Flint. The Kids Ticks program is part of sort of our expanded mission now that we are opening our venue, Whiting and Capitol, and that's part of the work that FIM does, is bringing the community for presenting shows. We want to be sure that all of Flint is able to access those programs, and we know we've run a very small program, a little bit under the radar for years. That's sort of a ticket subsidy program. We get a small amount of funding from a local foundation, which we're very grateful for. But we go through that in a minute. You know, it's in and out. It's very quickly used, and we get requests with great frequency for lower price tickets, subsidized tickets, etc. So 20-some years ago, we started a tuition assistance fund, and I don't think anybody would have dreamed how successful we would be at creating that fund and growing it to a place where we can say literally to everybody, financial barrier should not be a reason for you not taking music, dance, or theater instruction at FIM. We want to be able to say the same thing. It might take 10 years, it might take 20 years. Well, we want to build the same type of resources for giving that first live performing arts experience to kids. So that's what Kids Ticks is. I wanted you to hear about it. $25, you get it's a chance, of course, to support this great program. But if you win, you also get $2,700 worth of tickets to the complete season, some great titles. Use it once and you can pay for your. How many minutes is that?
3.
Oh, gosh, that was. I'll do one.
All right, thank you, Anne Marie. And Amy Crew also has enough.
Thank you. Also fine worthy. So $9. We hope you've been invited to the Art of Philanthropy event, which is coming up a week from 2 days ago. Probably easier just to say Wednesday. We will be recognizing some really fantastic folks in our community, one of which is Sally Kager, our own Sally Kager, the Flint Rotarians who will be honored with the Libby Award. So if you're able to attend, it's going to be at the Sloan Museum of Discovery, in there, which is fantastic. It is 5:30 to 7:30, no cost for the event. Just shoot me an email, send us folks, and we'll just let me know you're coming, and we'll check the list. Hope you're there.
All right, thank you, Amy. Any health and welfare update? Hopefully everybody is healthy and well. I heard from Jerry Hill. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I don't know. Maybe neither. That otter staying with her.
Okay,
Probably appreciate the thought.
all right. For folks on Zoom, Amy was sharing that Libby Maynard suffered a fall and broke some bones, but she is recovering and would probably appreciate any well wishes. I heard from Jerry Hill, he and his wife Diane are COVID free and he plans to come back next time. So look forward to having him back. I know we've got some guests here today. So Rotarians, if you've got a guest with you, would you mind having them stand up and let's introduce them, see who's here.
I'm sure this young lady knows who it is. Needs no introduction, but this is Laura Tony, and she's my guest today. And she works for me.
Welcome, Laura. And I think there's somebody else that shares that last name as well.
Yeah, are you guys leaving?
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we have Craig Coney here as well as a guest. Welcome, Craig. All right, and do we have any guests on Zoom? I don't think we do today. All right. Then we'll go ahead with, you know, that infamous 50-50 raffle.
Glad to be here. Where are your enforcers anyway?
So Fred asked about my enforcers and they couldn't be here today. They had other obligations,
What, like going to school and being
Like-
smarter?
like going to school, but they let me send a picture.
So if you guys plan on winning, take a look at that picture. See them coming, let me know 5 seconds before they get here, okay?
So Bobby's laughing because we had a chance to go to the Renaissance Festival with Bobby and Anita this past weekend. So I guess Bobby could be the standby enforcer here as the next gallant night.
Are you ready? Now, we need an honest person.
We need an honest person.
How about you? Good, you and I we're gonna get along well. What I'd like you to do, please, is stir the pot carefully. There is no collusion between either of us, right?
Correct.
Okay, see, there's no collusion. But the first one, if you pass it.
All right, first one is 84581. And Marie's up. All
All
right.
right. Come again, for we have two more opportunities. Corruption takes time yet.
All right, we've got 84524. Ellen Brother.
I see that.
Okay. And last 84510. And Marie.
Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we have some birthdays. We have a birthday reader today. All right, here comes Marie. Substituting.
Okay, I'm substituting for September birthdays. And I know the first two are here, so if you could join me, please. Jim Richardson, birthday was on September 3rd, and he has been a Rotarian for over 34 years. Now, for even a greater number, for September the 4th, Reg Lancaster come join us. And he has been a member for almost 40 years. And the other birthdays on September the 6th was David Gaines. September the 9th was Greg Lanier. September the 10th, Joe Martin. The 21st was Beverly Walker Griffith. The 24th was Jane O'Dell. The 28th was George Annan. And the 29th was Todd Swisher. So we could say happy birthday please to all those September birthdays, but especially these two gentlemen. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
All right, and before we introduce our speaker, I just want to make one other announcement, and that is just to acknowledge that we have a Rotarian with us today for whom this is going to be their final meeting as a member. Not that they're leaving Rotary, but they are leaving our area. So we'll be moving away. And so Richard Gibbs, I just want to, you're welcome to come here if you'd like, or to stand and we'll just acknowledge and appreciate you.
Well, it's been an honor to be a member of this office. Been objective of the year. My son Michael said, hey, I should open up these for you. Thank you.
We're very glad to have you here and you put a lot together. We'll be glad to have you together.
Lucky I could be in.
And we'll be in Rotary.
And we'll be in Rotary still.
Zoom.
Yes. Welcome back anytime. And with that, I'd like to transition to Kristen Moore-Burke, who's going to introduce our guest speaker today.
Everyone. Happy Friday, happy fall. So as you know, our focus this month is education and literacy. So we've got the perfect guy to kind of put a button on that today. Jason Carlisle, he is the assistant principal of the Genesee Career Institute, also known as GCI. And for those kind of old school folks, that GCI is the former Skills Center. Yes, it's alive and well and doing really great things. Jason has a background in education. That's really his passion. He has a master's degree from Saginaw Valley State University. And I've actually had the pleasure of working with Jason for a couple of years now in my role at GISD. And one thing I can tell is that Jason, once again, he not only has a passion for education, but also for students and making sure, they have the resources and everything they need to do well and succeed. And that includes having great programs to really prepare them for the job market and the kind of in-demand, on-trend jobs available in the marketplace, just to really help them reach their goals and set them up for success. So without further delay, Mr. Jason Carlisle, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. If you're okay, I'd like to use my teacher voice because sometimes I get away from my microphone and I feel so much better. My name is Jason Carlisle. I'm from Genesee Career Institute. Grew up, born and raised in the area, went to Flint Powers, worked at Camp Pope McConaughey for 6 or 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Coached at Powers for 6 years. So I've grown up in the area, love this area, and I'm really excited to continue and present to you all. This is our lovely building, Genesee Career Institute. We are located over on Torrey Road, if you know where Bishop Airport is, which I assume we all do, and Hill Road on the Hill Road Miner. If you take Torrey Road in between, you're going to go right past this beautiful view of our building. Our building's 6, 7, 8 years old, depending on where you are in the building. We've pretty much redone everything. And so I tell my kiddos when I'm out doing this presentation, everything you see something and then you comment it's a little different. It's probably because we've already bulldozed it and built something new. So we're very excited about the facilities, and we are very aware of how lucky we are to have these facilities. If you want any more information, you'll see kind of QR codes and slides and all sorts of information that's available to you. I also brought our program guide. Our program guides typically go out to our counselors in the area. So they have those paper hard copies, but you can find just about everything there on our website, our Genesee Career Institute website, about all our programs, our purpose, all that stuff. So who are we? We're obviously part of the GISD. We're part of their educational development program. When a student enters first grade, so I have a kindergartner right now, next year she'll be in first grade, hopefully. They started EDP on what's called Zello. And that really starts to gather their interests, what they like to do, where their skills are, and starts to kick them into a general direction of this is maybe where you should be looking. And so we are kind of the end of their high school experience and really now taking that and giving them a full and complete exposure to that career choice or that option if they're choosing to take it. And we give them an opportunity to figure out, is that what they want to do before they leave high school? If you're a parent and and you had a kiddo that went to college and changed their mind or major 4 times, we are hopefully saving you a couple bucks because they figure out they don't want to be a nurse or they don't want to be whatever it is they happen to be going into. They figure that out with us before you spend any money, and then they can go off to college. I have a lot of students that I'll meet with at the end of their first year, and they say, you know, Carlisle, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be a nurse. I say, fantastic. Let's figure out another program to put you in and get you prepared for your next steps. We're a career technical education school. What that means is I'm a classically trained history teacher. I spent my first 4 years in the classroom teaching US and world history. We don't have a history class, which just breaks my heart every day. But we have all of our different programs that I'll kind of share with you as briefly as I can. But all of our different programs that are really focused on getting kids college and career ready and really focused on career readiness. Almost every single one of our programs, our kids will walk out with articulated college credits from us. We have programs with Mott. We have our articulation agreements with Mott, Ferris, Michigan State, U of M, Flint. There's always one that I'm missing, but 5 or 6 different colleges and universities. Baker is the other one that's jumping in my head that we have articulated college credits with. So a kid comes to us, takes the class, finishes out the 2-year program. We give them a nice letter. They go off to the college and say, hey, I took this class at Genesee Career Institute, and the college puts those classes on their transcript free of charge to them. So it saves them a bunch of money. Our students are almost always out at field trips and guest speakers and in industry. We do our best to get kids into the actual environments they would be working with. My medium heavy truck students are frequently out at CurbCo. We have a partnership with working on their vehicles, or we pull in other stuff. Our early childhood students, I very rarely see them on our campus 4 days a week, about 9 days out of 10 actually. They are in the early childhood centers that are located around the county that are either run by the local districts or by the GISD. Most of our programs are 2-year programs. There's really only 2 exceptions to that. One is our ROTC program, which it could potentially be a 4-year program, and the other program is our Public Safety Homeland Security. But even off of that Public Safety Homeland Security is potentially a 1-year program, but then we now have a kind of a second path for a fire academy, which I'll talk about, or they can go off to EMT is another path that they take. All of our programs offer certified industry certifications and licenses. So every kid that ends with us after 2 years could potentially walk straight into the workforce with the industry recognized certification they need to get a job. So this year, I think we will probably graduate about hopefully 150 to 100 CNAs or patient care technician certified individuals. We'll probably graduate about 25, 26 certified level 1 welders. I have a number of kids, 5 or 6 typically, that will go into the electrical brotherhood straight out of high school. And so we're very proud that we have a lot of kids that will come and they go on your traditional path of a 4-year college institution afterwards. And that's great. But we have a lot of kids who we know that's not kind of what their plan is and what they want to do. And so we try and get them there as quickly as possible and give them all the tools and licenses they need. We spend a lot of time on ethics, safety, and employability skills. Employers, I'm sure many of you are employers here. They tell us we can teach them the skills, but I can't teach them to show up on time, to shake my hand, to be a good employee. And so we spend a lot of time. I have 3 teachers that are traditional teachers that don't spend any time really traditionally teaching. Their job really is to help kids with resumes, to do mock interviews with kids, to prepare them for those soft skills, those professional skills that we all need in the workplace. We at GCI, as I was sharing earlier, so we have kind of a double-edged sword in that we have every kid from the county is able to come to GCI, which means we don't have football teams, we don't have basketball teams. That would make things really awkward on Friday nights. But instead we have a number of what we call CTSOs, Career Technical Student Organizations. I like to very loudly and proudly tell you how great we are. And I don't say that because it's my little baby that I get to go in and see every day, but because we come home with national awards. Our junior ROTC program for 4 or 5 years running now has won the drill competition at the state level and placed in the top 5 in the nation. We have one of the best air rifle ranges, in my opinion, in the state for our ROTC program. Just last year, one of our programs, Digital Art Design and Broadcasting, the students and a team of 3 young ladies went to the national conference, and their informational board won the national championship. And so that's the 2nd year in a row that we accomplished that. So I'm very proud of what we do, and that's the hard and fast of it. But we have BPA, DECA, FFA, Hostess Skills USA, and kids are constantly and always signing permission slips, field trip permission slips for kids to go out and do those things. Actually, yeah, this is my team for 2 years ago that actually won our national. So we, in that EDP process, like I talked to you about, it will kick out to a kid, this is a career general idea that you should be going into. And those areas that you can see, arts and communication, is generally what kids get. I would have a lot of kids when I was in the classroom, at the end of their senior exit project, they'd say, I'm going to go into health and human services. And I'd say, what does that mean? And they'd say, I don't know. And I'd say, fantastic. This is not a great time at the end of your senior year to figure that out. So we try to give them that hard and fast experience as to what that means and kind of what classes they can take. So we have building wealth, entrepreneurship, computer hardware programming, game programming, and risk management insurance in our arts and communication. Computer hardware technician and game programming. Game programming one is super exciting for me. We have a third classroom, and now we have a full virtual reality chair. Then we have the Oculuses that are in there. So that kind of just developed naturally and organically last year. Our game programming instructor wanted to do something different. So we spent some money and he started building out all these different virtual reality environments. We actually kind of started working with our construction kids so they can see what's going on in that virtual reality, because that's probably their future when they're showing off a building that they want to sell or build or something like that. Computer hardware technician is a huge program, and not just for us in the technology world, but then the educational world as well. Our computer hardware technician students are frequently employed by the schools while they're still going to high school, because they need people that can fix their computers. They need people that can run their wires, do those really basic things that the kids already know how to do and seem to have known since birth. So they are getting there. Business management, I don't know what happened with my PowerPoint. I do apologize. Health sciences. I'm just going to move on. Medical Career Foundation. So that is by far, our health sciences area is by far our biggest area. Our health sciences probably accounts for roughly a third to half of our entire building. And most of those students start out in Medical Career Foundations, which is a general kind of overview of the medical industry. That's the only class that we actually have more than one instructor teaching at any one time. And most of those kiddos are then going to go off to a four-year institution and then go work in a hospital setting. So typically when I'm talking to a kid in the health sciences area, I say, what is it you want to do? You want to work in a hospital, you want to work in a doctor's office? And that guides my thinking as to where they would go. If they want to work in a doctor's office, typically they're a medical assistant. And then their work-based learning activities that they do is actually in a doctor's office. My Medical Career Foundation students, they will go on to advanced nursing or patient care technician. And then they will be in clinicals starting next week, 2 weeks from now, in all the local hospitals, the long-term care facilities. We are very lucky that we have very good partners around the county with those individuals. Emergency medical concepts. A lot of my kiddos want to go from public safety, so that one-year program, and they say, what do I do next? I say, hey, take emergency medical concepts, because a lot of our police departments need EMTs. I also have kiddos that go from emergency medical concepts in their second year, and so finishing that off, they will then instead go off to the Fire Academy, which is a brand new program for us this year that we're very excited about. But those kiddos at 18, after they take our class, they can sit for the state test, and at 18 and a half, they could be saving your life driving to the hospital. So it's a very exciting program. Forensic science, if you are a big fan of CSI, you will love this class. At any given time, we have a room we call our crime lab. And so our instructor will get there early in the morning, set up all these fun bodies, use as much marker as she can all over the room to simulate blood splatter, and the kids have to actually solve the crime. It's really fun when I'm walking through the building and all of a sudden I'm the suspect and I just got out of a meeting, but it's okay. But our forensic science class is really fantastic. This is a class that I frequently talk about. I always tell our kiddos, make sure you're kind of prepared when you come to GCI. One of the issues that we tend to see is that the local kind of doesn't know what's going on at GCI as much as we try to communicate. Our forensic science class is very kind of high level, and so I want to make sure our kiddos are prepared to enter a class like that. Our three teachers that I told you about that are kind of classically trained, they are available and they are there really to support the kiddos as well in whatever way that is, from English, math, my special ed instructor that is there, but they also provide instruction to our teachers. So all of our teachers, all but about two, are not classically trained teachers. They almost all are out of industry and stay very active in industry. Every time I have to pull a nurse, usually on the resume, and the last placement was McLaren or Hurley or something like that. And so all of our people are straight from industry. Twice a year, we hold a meeting. We call it our advisory dinner or advisory lunch, depending on the time of year, where we bring industry partners in to look at our facilities, look at our curriculum, and tell us what can we do better. What's coming down the pipe that we haven't heard about that maybe you have. And so that's one of the great things about our instructors, is they maintain those relationships. Natural resources. So agri-science and veterinary medicine. So agri-science is for my kiddos that like to be farmers. I have a lot of kiddos from kind of the outskirts of the county that work on a farm or have interest in that field. I also have a lot of kids that really like flowers in that class. So just 2 days ago, they made me a nice boutonniere just because, which was just lovely. And we have a greenhouse out back. So if you're kind of familiar with the front side of our building, you're probably really familiar with the back side of our building. So if you're going down 75, right as it gets to the 23 split, you'll frequently see the base camp big sign. That's on our campus, and that's part of our curriculum. So our kiddos are there twice a year, but right next to that building, well, not right next to it, but a little bit further down, you see our big greenhouse, 4 years old or so. That comes spring, hopefully you'll hear about. I'll share with you guys about our spring summer sale that we have all sorts of student created stuff. A lot of it is our flowers and plants that comes out of there. And then veterinary science. They work with small animals, animal handling. Our kiddos are in vet hospitals. Ag science does get some animals in there, but usually those are cows and horses and goats, and one very friendly dog that's in there right now. So, our newest programs, and these are ones that we're super excited about. Aviation. Classes are taken predominantly at Bishop Airport. We have pulled them back just a little bit, a couple days a week, to our main campus, but those students are at Bishop Airport. It is a 2-year program. At the end of their 2-year program, our hope is that they are now certified for all their ground clearance stuff. And they also have a drone pilot's license. We've discovered in the last couple of years that kids don't continue on in their piloting education because there's such a need for drone operators in the insurance industry right now, in the farming industry, all sorts of areas that they need drones. And so we're very excited. This is our hangar. That's one of our training planes that we have. There's 2 of them right now, and that program's in its 3rd year. For lack of a better word, we think it's taking off. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I have a 5-year-old, so my dad jokes have really gone to the top notch. So Fire Academy. Fire Academy is in our 2nd year. We are super excited about that. There is a large amount of land that is currently cleared and will be broken on Monday. So if you'd like to come by and see our campus, feel free to swing by at 11 o'clock while we do our ground breaking for our Fire Academy. We partner predominantly with the Burton Fire Department, but almost every fire department pitches in and helps us out. We have an entire room full of the tanks and the jackets and the boots, all the fire equipment that you could possibly need, up to and including an actual fire truck, which was donated by Burton Fire Department, that kids come spring will be hosing down a parking lot with. So it's very exciting. That will eventually be a regional training center that will probably be used by adults in their goals to become a firefighter. We also have a new teacher academy. As someone reminded me this morning, there is a shortage of teachers, which I've heard. So in addition to our early childhood area, which is really focused on our little ones, but now we have our new teacher academy, which is our little ones to our high school ones students. And so those students are dual enrolled at Mott. They take some additional classes, and they are also job shadowing teachers at their local school districts in hopes that we can get them straight from high school to the 4-year institution or wherever they need to go, and then pull them right back into our areas. One of the big things we have, it's called the Genesee Career Technical Early Middle College, which is a whole mouthful, even when they try to shorten it for me. But that is really focused on kids having a 13th year of high school. It's an early middle college program. The benefits of that is that they spend an extra year in high school. Very rarely do I see them in that 13th year on my main campus or on a high school campus. That last year is typically on Mott or U of M's campus taking those final college classes. Most students going through the early middle college program, they have one class that's held back for their 13th year for high school purposes, and that's kind of how they account for those. But one of the best things about that is just like I told you with our articulated credits, it gives students more time to earn those college credits. So I've had students coming out of this particular program that works with all those programs listed there on the left with 60, 70 college credits with associates with very little time until they have to get their bachelor's. And again, the cost for them from a tuition standpoint, a book standpoint, cost of living is all $0. That's part of their whole experience and part of how we work together as a school community. And so we have a number of other early middle colleges. So we have Mott Middle and Genesee Early College that is also part of our organization. And then a lot of students here, a lot of the local districts also run an early middle college in some capacity. And so we work with them to support them and make sure they have everything they need to support those students. The biggest question I always get is who can go to Genesee Career Institute? And what I would say is, do you live in Genesee County and are you a 10th grade student? And you are going to be eligible for Genesee Career Institute next year. If you're homeschooled, if you're at a parochial, if you're at a private, whatever it happens to be, if you are a 10th grade student here at Genesee Career, 10th grade student in Flint, Genesee County, you are eligible. We don't have anything that restricts you. One of the things I always talk to kiddos is make sure you have the supports you need if you're taking a forensic science class. So that way, if you're not great in math or science, that's not a problem. Just make sure you've got some help back at the local. Articulated cost for articulated credits is $0. And almost everything that we do our best to keep to an absolute minimum as far as cost. I've got another week running right now on a fundraiser. I'll run another one just after it. So that way, when we are sending kids to Houston for our technology meetings, their cost is whatever they're going to spend for food. And that's about it. So we pay for their airfare, the hotel, the whole kit and caboodle. And so that's our program. Where can you find more information? These are the two websites, and I will make sure that Kristen has this, a number of areas. So this is our Genesee Career Institute website. What I would kind of point you to, if you want to see our facilities in the immediate, is those last two. So the virtual tour, we developed a 360 virtual tour. If you're familiar with Google Maps, you'll know how to manage it. You'll see someone's very lovely face giving you some directions on the front page if you need some help. And we also have a playlist within that virtual map. All the videos that are on the playlist are all developed and created by students. And then you'll also see them in the virtual tour. So I have time if you have any questions or if I can provide any clarification for anybody. Yes, ma'am.
Still students at the local school district. So how much time on the average do they spend in the local district and how much time that applicant still spend?
Yeah, no, that's okay. Great question. Yeah, so our students are with us for about an hour and a half, including commute time. It's roughly 2 hours. Most students back there local have at least 3, possibly 4 classes. Not only do we offer articulated college credits, but we also offer articulated high school credits. So just by coming to me and taking that 2-year, you have potential for your 2nd year foreign language, 3rd year science, 4th year math, visual performing arts, and the virtual learning requirement that's required. And just by taking that class, we make available, we recommend that you get all those classes. And that's one way that we work with them. So our classes, bright and early, I'm there at 6:45. Our first session starts at 7 and goes till 8:45. We have 8:45 or 8:50 to 10:35 is our second session. And then we have this beautiful time in the middle of our day, lunch and planning. So we don't have any students. And then we have 12:05 to 1:50 is our third session. We offer transportation, which is probably the next question. So we offer transportation to and from every local school that is in the busing consortium, the GISD busing consortium. So if a student doesn't have a way to get to GCI, if you can get to your local school, I will pick you up every single day, regardless of your operating status of your local school. As long as we are open, we are going to run our bus. Yes. No problem. Great question. Yeah. So coming out of COVID, we finished last year with 1,259 students, and right now we're at 1570, I think it is. We have about 220 20 student growth, 17%.
And you still have, I'm not, what program for itself in the evening, you don't have help?
Yes, so one of the other pieces that you'll have on your tables is the Skills to Earn program. So we just started an adult ed program, and that's in partnership. It looks very similar in structure to our high school program, but that's in partnership with all of our local adult ed providers. So any individual that doesn't have a high school diploma that is actively working on it, then we can provide them the career technical education skills to continue. So I had one lady finish up last year, was our first year. She got her level 1 welding certificate. I had one CNA finish up, and I had one electrician finish up last year. So they're all certified in their specific areas. Right now we have 14 enrolled, and we will start classes next week. It's October 4th, next week. And so we're offering welding, CNA, electrical, auto, and construction this upcoming term. Yes, sir. Mhm. Call me. Yeah.
Requires a blood test to go with that. My biggest problem is
So our, in order to get into the hospitals, all of our CNAs, for instance, they have to be drug tested. So we do that. We do the tuberculosis testing as well. We frequently talk to our kiddos and say, hey, listen, we can't control what every employer is going to ask for you from when you go to get employed. So you need to be aware of these are certain expectations that they will probably have. We do our best to prepare those kiddos to make sure that they are clean and healthy. They should be clean and healthy anyway, because they're not of age that would be appropriate. So our hope, if you've got 20, when I hear someone that says I have 25 openings, I say, please call me. When I walked out of, I worked in Westwood Heights School District, and one of the heartbreaking things for me was talking to the kid in the August of September after they graduate, because they had these big plans and then they left the school system and they didn't have anything to support them get there. I want a kid with a job on June 11th. So that way I don't have to worry about him for the next 3 months, because I already know he's getting taken care of somebody. And most, half of our kids are probably need some sort of continuing education, and most of them are open to it. We are done a big push, and I'm doing a big push this year. You guys are talking about the Flint community to get our students from Flint schools. We are highly underrepresented in our building in that particular area, but that is our hope, to get more and more students from there ready to go. Sorry, hopefully that answered your question. Yes, sir.
My son got his start in the CAD programming.
Yep.
Program that went on to get 3 more degrees in computer science, and now has a PhD, and is in charge of a community college, the IT department, business, supply chain management. But without the 2-year program that he through almost 40 years, I think he'd be really sad.
Yeah. I graduated high school in 2004 from Powers, and at that time it was college. And now we have this huge gap of individuals that didn't necessarily need college even to get going. And so we are highly focused on filling that gap as much as possible. Every year the state puts out a top 40 and 40, top 40 and 40 high wage, high demand jobs that we use to influence and really guide our thinking in which programs we're developing and what's going to be next. I'm pushing for an HVAC program next. We've got some space. There's a couple, we're all kind of competing for our pet programs, but there are a couple areas that we need to fill pretty quick. Well, thank you very much.
So I want to say thank you again to our guest speaker, Jason Carlisle. And one of the things that we do at Rotary is we like to honor the speaker by making a donation in their name. for the eradication of polio. So the contribution we made to Rotary International for you for that. I also want to say thank you today to Kristen for your introduction of our speaker, as well as to Don Clemens for inspirational message. Setup and takedown, I think I saw Jim Richardson here today helping with that. Thank you. Bulletin notes, Elizabeth Cummins, and also to stepping in to help with the birthdays, Marie Zook. Just as a reminder, next week is our 5th Friday. This so you can see. It's our 5th Friday, so we won't be meeting here next Friday. Instead, we'll be doing our kind of hangout lunch at the White Horse. So per usual, Jewel is going to make arrangements for that. So if anybody knows that you are planning to attend next Friday at the White Horse, if you just raise your hand, or if you're planning to take a guest, you get kind of a little informal head. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, anybody on Zoom? You can speak up if you're on Zoom.
You got 7.
Yep.
And if you're not doing anything tomorrow, there's a big thing happening. I think they call it coming home.
Indeed. Well, until then, hope all of you have a wonderful weekend, however you're celebrating it. You can enjoy some of this fall sunshine, and remember to imagine Rotary, what it means for you, your community, and our world. With that, we are adjourned.